Hi, students, and welcome to week 4 of 0026. Did want to talk with you about the assignments that are due this week and talk with you about some of the objectives that we've got this week. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Let's see here. Let's see, not quite yet. Still getting the hang of this. Zoom videos. Okay, so let me share my screen with you so that you can see what I see. So we are on week 4. So I'm just going to click on week 4 and go to content and go over the week 4 assignments that I have you doing. Number 1, of course, is to view the week 4 video. And then read your chapters in the book as outlined in the syllabus. We're still focusing on the writing process because you are emerging writers. I'm going to have you view and take notes on all the PowerPoints and the handouts. I don't check the notes, but it is helpful for you to take notes so that you're able to do well on the quizzes, as well as on the assignments. To complete the discussion board, I have you reflecting on your writing process thus far in the course. Make sure that you do complete this discussion board and respond to at least one classmate. There will be a quiz under the assessment tabs. It's not quite created yet, but it will be created by the time this video goes live. Complete your grammar practice. That will be under assignments. And then view the feedback that I've given you on your rough drafts of your complaint letters, edit and revise the letters, and then submit your final letter of complaint, which I had you do as an assignment. This will begin to move us forward in our writing journeys and our writing process as we begin to go into our first essay writing assignment. So that's what week 4 is all about. Week 5 is still in process of being edited and revised and created because, like you, I also have to edit and revise as I go through. So just make sure that you take the time to watch this video and see what you're required to do. I'm going to minimize my screen for just a moment, and I'm going to open up the week 4 PowerPoint because it opens faster on my computer than it does on Brightspace with you. So let me just make sure that I'm screen sharing here and that you can see the PowerPoint. So this week we're focusing on working with words and which word is right. Some of the feedback that I've given you on your assignments, one of the things that I've noticed is that there's commonly confused words, there's some spelling errors and word choice. So I'm just going to go over some tips and some tricks that can help you become a better writer. So our learning objectives for this week, there's 7 of them. So it is quite a lengthy slideshow, so this video may be longer than you would like, but again, you can view it as many times as you like, and you can stop it and go back and rewind it as much as you need. So our first learning objective is to identify commonly confused words. Our second objective is to use strategies to avoid commonly confused words. Our third one is to identify common spelling rules and identify commonly misused homonyms. Identify commonly misspelled words. Identify the meanings of common prefixes and become familiar with common suffix rules. So just to get us started, I'm going to talk about commonly confused words for a moment. This is something that I have noticed numerous times in my journey as a professor, is that commonly confused words are a problem, especially with English language learners, but that's okay because English is very confusing. So some words in English definitely cause trouble for speakers and writers because they have a similar pronunciation, meaning, or a spelling with another word. These are commonly confused words. So, for example, I'm going to have you look at the following sentences containing the commonly confused words new and new. I liked her new sweater, N-E-W. And then the second sentence is, I knew she would wear that sweater today, with a K in front of it. They sound just alike when spoken, but they carry entirely different uses and meanings. New is an adjective that describes the sweater. We talked about parts of speech last week. And new with the K is the past tense of the verb to know. Again, we talked about parts of speech and verbs last week. So here's a chart that I have I pulled. Commonly confused words. These are just a few of them. There's a multitude of them out there. There's many, but these are the most that are most commonly confused. So you need to really kind of familiarize yourself with commonly confused words as much as possible. Recognizing these words in your own writing and in other pieces of writing can help you choose the correct word. You'll be doing some practice with that this week in your grammar practice. Because the English language contains so many words, no one can say for certain how many words actually exist. So many words in English are also borrowed from other languages, and they have multiple meanings and forms, which further expands the immeasurable number of English words. This is just a guide. Even these words are minimal. There are so many commonly confused words out there, it would be impossible. I would be here for 2 days trying to list them all, and possibly even longer. So if you're in doubt, always consult the expert, which is the dictionary. The dictionary will definitely give you a definitive definition of the words that are commonly confused. So for example, I did decide to add a little bit of humor in here. Here you have please drive safety. Commonly confused words appear in many locations. Road signs, not just at work, not just at school, not just in your writing. So just be on the lookout for misused words wherever you find yourself throughout the day. Make a mental note of the error and remember its correction for your own writing. That's just a pro tip that I give my students. These are some strategies that you can use to avoid them. Number one, use a dictionary. Keep it at your desk while you write. You can look up words that you're uncertain of their meanings or their spellings. Many dictionaries are available online, and the access to the internet will not slow you down per se. You can actually even use your cell phone or smartphone to see if a dictionary app is available on that. And also a second strategy is to keep a list of words that you commonly confused. Be aware of them. If you noticed a pattern of confusing words, keep a list nearby and consult the list when you write. Check it again before you submit an assignment to your instructor. And 3, study a list of commonly confused words. You may not yet know which words confuse you, but before you sit down to write, study the words on the list. Prepare your mind for working with words by reviewing the commonly confused words identified in this lesson. Okay, so going to the next slide. These are key takeaways. In order to write accurately, it is important for writers to be aware of commonly confused words. Folks, I'm going to tell you, I have 3 degrees and I write quite often. And I correct writing, but I still make mistakes in commonly confused words. Sometimes I make mistakes in spelling. I am human. So I don't claim to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. Although commonly confused words may look alike or sound alike, their meanings are sometimes very different. So consulting the dictionary is one way to make sure you're using the correct word in your writing. And keeping a list is also another way that will help. And then also choosing the proper words leaves a positive impression on your readers. So spelling is also a very important part of writing well. One essential aspect of good writing is accurate spelling. With computer spell checkers, spelling may seem simple, but these programs are just that. They're programs. They don't catch every error, especially with commonly confused words. Spell checkers identify some errors, but writers still need to consider the flagged words and suggested replacements. You're still responsible for the errors that remained. And one of the things I tell all my students when I'm teaching this course is that sometimes it's also helpful to read your writing out loud before you revise and edit your assignment or submit your assignment, because sometimes when you read it out loud, you can actually catch a lot of the errors. So when you're using a spell checker, if it highlights a word that's misspelled and gives you a list of alternative words, you might even choose a word that you never intended, even though it's spelled correctly. It can completely change the meaning of your sentence. So just be aware of that. And it confuses the readers. I've actually encountered that a couple of times in assignments that I've graded for this class this semester. And sometimes it makes them lose interest, especially if it is not used properly. Computer spell checkers are very useful editing tools, but they cannot replace human knowledge of spelling rules, homonyms, and commonly misspelled words, prefixes and suffixes, and general rules like that. So these are common spelling rules. The best way to master new words is to understand the key spelling rules. So like I said before, keep in mind that some spelling rules will carry exceptions. A spell checker may catch these exceptions, but knowing them yourself will prepare you to spell accurately on the first try. You can try to memorize the rules and its exception, like you would memorize the rules or a rhyme or a lyrics to a song, even if that helps you. Sometimes mnemonic devices, like I teach my high school students, the freshmen, race, edit, or race, which is restate the question, answer the question, cite evidence, and then elaboration, which is a very simple way with emerging writers to answer questions and answer prompts. So for spelling rules, these are just some key, they're not comprehensive by any means, but these are the major big ones. So key spelling rules, number 1 is to write I before E, except after C, when pronounced A, like neighbor or way. Number 2, when words end in a consonant plus Y, you'll drop the Y and add an I before adding another ending. An example of this is happy. It's not happy plus ER. You drop the Y and add an I. I put an example for all of these in here for you just to help. Number 3, when words end in a vowel plus Y, keep the Y and add the ending. So delay, you would add ED. So delayed. So there's a few exceptions to the rule: day, lay, say, and pay. It would be daily, laid, said, and paid. For the most part, when you're writing academically, however, you will not write in past tense. You always keep it in the third person point of view, meaning no personal pronouns in academic writing. And I will reiterate that every single week in our lessons. But also, you want to also keep it in present tense. That's very, very important in academic writing. So continuing on with key spelling rules, when you add an ending that begins with a vowel, such as able, ence, ing, or ity, you want to drop the last E in the word. So for example, for write, it would be writing. Rule number 5, if you're adding an ending that begins with a consonant, such as less, meant, or ly, you want to keep the last E in the word. So for example, the word hope, if you're trying to say that something is hopeless, as in has no hope, it would be hope plus less equals hopeless. Number 6, for many words that end in a consonant and an O, you want to add an S when using the plural form. So if you're talking about a photograph or photo, you would add an S to the end for photos, as in plural, multiple. And 7, add ES to words that end in S, ch, sh, and X. So church would be one that you would want to add ES to, and it would say churches. So these are just some tips to improve your spelling skills. I've given you 8 tips to just sort of help you as you go along. Number 1 is to read the words in your assignment carefully and avoid skimming over the page. Too often, especially in college, when you have a life and you're working and you have small children and you're trying to get your assignments completed because you are attempting to get an education, some people procrastinate to the last minute and therefore don't read over the fine directions that your professors have given you. So you really want to focus on making sure that you read everything carefully. Don't skim it. Focusing on your written assignment. So if I ask you to write a response, which I am doing this week, focus on it word by word will help you pay attention to the spelling. Skimming quickly, you overlook the misspelled words. And number 2, I mentioned this earlier, use mnemonic devices to help you remember the correct spelling of words. Mnemonic devices or memory techniques and learning aids include inventive sayings or practices that help you remember. So for example, the saying, "It is important to be a beautiful person inside and out," may help you remember that beautiful begins with be, a. So the practice of pronouncing the word Wednesday, Wednesday, may help you remember how to spell the word correctly. And that's absolutely okay. I had trouble when I was first learning to spell, especially with February, because of that R that's in the middle of the month name. So I had to learn February to help me learn how to spell the month name. Number 3, Use a dictionary. Many professional writers, including myself, rely on the dictionary, either in print or online. And as I mentioned before, you can get an app for your phone as well. And if you're having trouble using a regular dictionary, reach out, ask me to help you find a dictionary, because I can help you with that. Number 4, use the computer spell checker. It won't solve all your spelling problems, but it is a useful tool to have. And then, of course, I gave you some tips about that with common spelling rules and very important information about spelling earlier on. Number 5, keep a list of frequently misspelled words. Again, I cannot stress this to you enough, because people misspell the same words over and over again. Don't let that discourage you. All writers struggle with spellings of certain words, including myself. But as you become aware of your spelling weaknesses, work to improve. Be aware of which words you commonly misspell, and you can add them to a list. And before you know it, you've memorized them, and it won't be an issue anymore. And then number 6, look over corrected papers for misspelled words. Add these words to your list and practice writing each word 4 to 5 times each. I will notice as a writing teacher which words that are frequently misspelled, and it will help you excel in all your classes in the future. Since this is your first step before you go into ENC 1101, which I also teach, this is something that I definitely look for to help students improve in their writing. Number 7, go old school. Use flashcards. Index cards will help. Sometimes the old-fashioned methods are best. And for spelling, this tried and true technique has worked for many students. You can work with a peer, or you can work alone. If you have someone in the house that is a very big help to you, say it's a parent, even if it's a child, or if it's a teenager, or they don't like to spend much time with the adults in their lives, but anyone, another teacher, a peer in the class, set up a tutoring session and see if you guys can't do like a FaceTime or a Google Meet or something, and really work towards making sure that you can test yourself with the flashcards. Sometimes that works. There's a great program out there, or a website called Quizlet, and you can try with misspelled words as well. And then review the common spelling rules that I explained in the lesson. Take the necessary time to master the material. It can be tough. I know I tend to talk fast, especially when I'm doing the online videos. I don't want you to have to spend 45 minutes listening to the sound of my voice all the time, but watch it as many times as you need to. This is a pro tip that I give all my students. Remember to focus on spelling during editing and revising. So you want to start with your big ideas, such as organizing your piece of writing and developing effective paragraphs, because that's what this class is all about, is learning how to become a better writer. Then you'll work your way down towards the smaller, it is equally important details, like spelling and punctuation, as we've discussed in the past few weeks. So just make sure that you're focusing on that. I did give you here in the slideshow a list of commonly misspelled words. By no means is this a comprehensive list, but these are words that are the most commonly misspelled. And then you have your general it's, and it's, except. And those go along as well with commonly confused words. So these are just the most common misspelled words. I am one of the most common misspelled words in my own personal career is conscience. I always screw that one up all the time. So again, I'm human just as you are. So don't get discouraged with misspelling. Just know that you just need to be aware of it as you are emerging as an academic writer. These are just some key takeaways. Accurate, error-free spelling enhances your credibility with the reader. That is very important because you are learning to write academically. Mastering the rules of spelling will help you become a better speller. And knowing the commonly misused homonyms may prevent spelling errors. Studying the list of commonly misspelled words or studying a list of your own is one way to improve your spelling skills. So moving on to word choice. This is really big and very important. One of the things I've noticed as I've been grading is word choice. So effective writing involves making conscious choices with words. So when you prepare to sit down to write your first draft of your essay, that's coming up. It's not like in the immediate future, but it is coming up. Most likely I had you do some free writing exercises that you've chosen your topic, you've developed your thesis statement, that's coming next week. You've written an outline and even selected your sources that you're going to use for your essay. When it's time to write your first draft, you want to start to consider which words to use to best convey your ideas to the reader. Right now, we're doing low stakes writing assignments, discussion boards, and paragraphs. But the stakes are going to increase as the class goes forward. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to put this in there, because word choice is very, very important in writing. For example, in your final letter of complaint, word choice is extremely important. So some writers are very picky about their word choice as they begin drafting. Some people may practice some specific strategies, such as using a dictionary and a thesaurus, using words and phrases with proper connotations, avoiding slang, cliche, and overly general words. Once you understand the tricks of the trade, you can move ahead confidently in writing your assignment. But remember, the skill and accuracy of your word choice is a major factor in developing your writing style. So precise selection of your words will help you be more clearly understood in both writing and in speaking. And again, this is a challenge. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen as you write more and more. So the next thing that I will say with word choice, using a dictionary and thesaurus is a great idea. Even professional writers need help with the meaning, spellings, pronunciations, and uses of particular words. In fact, people rely on dictionaries, I do, to help them write better. No one knows, not one person knows every single word in the English language. As I stated before, it's impossible because there are so many words. There's multiple uses for those words. There's multiple meanings for those words. So all writers, from novices to professionals, benefit from the use of dictionaries. So dictionaries provide lots of information, including spelling, punctuation, the part of speech, a definition, synonyms, words that will have similar meanings, and then etymology, which is the history of the word, where it comes from. Is it Latin in nature? Does it have a Latin root? Does it have a Greek root? Because a lot of the words in the English language do have Latin and Greek roots. So that is also extremely important. However, I would caution you, when you're using a thesaurus, if you do not know the meaning of the word, don't use it. Because oftentimes students try, oh, well, I'm going to use this word. It's going to really impress my teacher or my professor. As a high school teacher, I see this quite often. Even as a college professor, I see it often, where students, I can tell that they've used a thesaurus because their sentences have these really big words in them. But I recognize that they're emerging writers, and I know that they probably don't know the meaning of the word. And if they do, great. But if it doesn't make sense in the sentence, and I know that they've used a thesaurus tool and just chosen a random word. So just be really careful and cautious when you're using the thesaurus. It's a helpful tool, but just make sure that you're using it properly. Okay, so again, going back to that, we're going to look at a sample dictionary entry and see which information you can identify. So we have myth. Here, I'm going to use my arrow here. You see it's got an N. N stands for noun. The GR stands for its etymology, so it's Greek. Mythos is a form of the word, and this is just a little bit of information, a word, a fable, a legend. So those are three different ways to describe what the word myth is. And this is the definition: a fable or legend embodying the convictions of a people as to their gods or other divine beings, their own beginnings and early history and the heroes connected with it, or the origin of the world. Any invented story, something or someone having no existence in fact. So you will see here, here is one definition. Then it's got the word or. So there's a second definition. A third definition, the semicolon, as we talked about last week, identifies a third definition. Any invented story is considered a myth. And then the third definition, another semicolon separating it, something or someone having no existence in fact. So That's a sample dictionary entry with 3 different definitions. So depending upon how you're going to use the word, you want to make sure you use the proper form of the word and use it in the sentence. So here I've got mythic and mythical. Those are 2 different ways to use the word in a sentence depending upon how or what your sentence states. So with this, like a dictionary, a thesaurus is an indispensable writing tool. I talked to you about that on the last slide. It gives you a list of synonyms or words that have the same or very close to the same meaning as another word. It also lists antonyms, words with the opposite meaning. So a thesaurus will help you when you're looking for the perfect word with just the right meaning to convey your ideas. But again, I urge you to be cautious with that. It also helps you learn more words and use the ones you already know more correctly. So again, the thesaurus is a helpful tool. Okay, so here, precocious, it's an adjective. So here's the sentence. She's such a precocious little girl. All right, so it's used in a sentence, showing you how the adjective is used. The colon here identifies that it's starting what it means, or what some alternatives: uncommonly smart, mature, advanced, smart, bright, brilliant, gifted, quick, clever, apt. So those are synonyms for precocious. The ANT here in italics shows that those are antonyms: slow, backward, and I hate this word, but stupid is another antonym for precocious. So that's just sort of, I hate to say a responsible way to use a thesaurus and dictionary, but that's really what I'm saying. Be responsible in your use of dictionary and thesaurus. Connotations and denotations. A denotation is literally the dictionary definition of the word. A connotation, on the other hand, is the emotional or cultural meaning attached to a word. What I tell my students is a connotation is the immediate picture you get in your mind when you hear a word. If someone says to me pig, I don't think pig the animal, I think bacon. That's the connotation that I get in my mind. So that's just an example of what a connotation is. The connotation of a word can be positive, it can be negative, or it can be neutral. So when you're choosing a word to use when you're in your writing, you want to keep in mind the connotative meaning. So looking at this next, the right-hand side here, I put the word scrawny here. The denotation means exceptionally thin and slight or meager in body or size. So I'm using it in a sentence. Although he was a premature baby and a scrawny child, Martin has developed into a strong man. Okay, so that's the dictionary denotation and using it in a proper sentence. The connotation of the word scrawny is negative. In this sentence, the word scrawny may have a negative connotation in the reader's mind because when you hear the word scrawny, you think thin, slight, tiny, itty bitty. They might find it to mean weakness or a personal flaw. However, the word fits into this sentence appropriately. So that's just an example. Skinny is another one. The denotation means lacking sufficient flesh or very thin. Skinny has a negative denotation, but it also has a positive connotation. So skinny jeans have become very fashionable in the past couple of years. Hard thing for me because I don't wear skinny jeans. The connotation is positive in this sense. Based on the cultural and personal impressions of what it means to be skinny, the reader may have a positive connotation of the word skinny. Now, in that sense, absolutely. But there's such a thing as skinny shaming people because they're skinny. I know people that say when someone is too thin, well, that person needs to eat a sandwich. And they're saying that in a negative way. They're saying that person is too skinny. So it can have positive or negative or even neutral connotations to it. So just keep that in mind. One of the things that I do tell all my students as they are emerging writers is no slang, no personal pronouns in academic writing, especially when you're writing formally. Slang literally means shortened language. In modern society, there's a lot of slang that is used because people speak in text speak. We communicate using our cellular devices. We send text messages. A lot of the times we use voice to text. Those are informal words that are considered non-standard English. Slang changes with passing fads and may be used by or familiar to only a specific group of people. For example, I teach high school full-time and I teach at the college part-time. The slang that I hear on a daily basis at the high school, I tell my students all the time, I don't speak slang. Can you please explain to me what this means? Because I don't use slang words. Most people use slang when they speak in personal correspondences, emails, text messages, and instant messages. That is common. It's appropriate between friends in an informal context, but it needs to be avoided in formal academic writing. So that is something that I try to tell all students, to make sure you're not using slang. So I just grabbed this graphic to show you some typical English slang. Whatcha, what you doing? Wanna means I want to. I'ma means I'm plus going to. Outta means out of. Kinda, people use that a lot. It's kind of. Have to is, again, a slang combination of improper words. Have to, half plus to. Gimme, give me. Gotta is got to. And the word that I am the most adamant about is ain't. I'm from the Deep South. That is common vernacular. It's common colloquial. It's commonly used in vocabularies across the world. Ain't is actually listed in the dictionary. So my students particularly like to claim that ain't is a word. It is acknowledged as a word. In the dictionary, it's also acknowledged as an improper combination of the words am not, is not, and are not, and therefore is considered slang. So we don't use that in formal academic writing. Okay, so to avoid using cliches as well, those are descriptive expressions that have lost their effectiveness because they're overused. Writing that uses cliches suffers from a lack of originality and insight. Avoiding cliches in formal writing will help you write in original and fresh ways. So this is a cliched, it's got a cliche in it. It's a sentence with a cliche in it. Whenever my brother and I get into an argument, he always says something that makes my blood boil. Okay. Again, that's cliched. It's overused. Blood boil. The connotation of that particular cliche is that you get angry at your brother because he says something to you that makes you angry. So that's a cliched expression. Plain, again, like I just said, whenever my brother and I get into an argument, he always says something that makes me really angry. It's plain writing. It doesn't have any detail or the thought, really. It's just simplistic. It's plain, ordinary. Original. Whenever my brother and I get into an argument, he always says something that makes me want to go to the gym and punch the bag for a few hours. So again, this is an original sentence, and it has a little bit more detail in it. It's not short and terse. So really, cliches are just commonly used phrases in writing or in speaking and conversation. And you just want to avoid them. You want to avoid plain writing as well. You want to try to give detail, but don't overdo detail. It's the matter of finding that balance in your academic writing. So here's a tip. If you think about all the cliche phrases that you hear in popular music or everyday conversation, what would happen if those cliches were transformed into something unique? It would make a world of difference and enhance everyone's vocabulary all the way around. So using overly general words is another one. This is where the short and terse sentences come in. Specific words and images make writing more interesting to read. Now, you won't be writing narrative essays in this class. However, when you write narrative essays, that's when you use personal pronouns. Any other form of academic writing, you will not use personal pronouns in it. So whenever possible, you want to avoid overly general words in your writing. Instead, try to replace general language with nouns, verbs, and modifiers that convey details and bring your words to life. Add words that provide color, texture, sound, and even smell. So think about the 5 senses to your writing. General, my new puppy is cute. That's a very complete sentence, but it's boring. You want to be specific. My new puppy is a ball of white fuzz that has the biggest black eyes I have ever seen. That's very specific and descriptive. General, my teacher told us that plagiarism is bad. Okay, let's go from general to the specific. My teacher, Mrs. Wood, created a presentation dealing exactly how plagiarism is illegal and unethical. That's more detailed. So it's just taking that general and being more specific in it, adding more words, making it make more sense, and being more colorful and descriptive in your writing. So some key takeaways from this are using a dictionary and a thesaurus as you write will improve your writing by improving your word choice. Connotations of words may be positive, neutral, or negative, and slang, cliches, and overly general words should be avoided in general academic writing. Prefixes and suffixes. The English language contains an enormous and ever-growing numbers of words. So enhancing your vocabulary by learning new words can seem overwhelming, but if you know the common prefixes and suffixes of English, you will understand many more words. So mastering common prefixes and suffixes is like learning a code. Once you crack the code, you can not only spell words more correctly, but also recognize and perhaps even define unfamiliar words. So a prefix is just that. It's a word added to the beginning of a word to create new meaning. So here in the next slide, I have put in a slide of common prefixes, the prefix here, the meaning at the top, and then an example. So that you can just know these are the most common. It's not a comprehensive list, but they're common. Suffixes, they're a little more complex because a suffix is a word part that's added to the end of a word to create new meaning. There are 5 general rules. So with your 5 general rules in suffixes, when adding the suffixes ness and ly to a word, the spelling of the word does not change. The word dark, darkness, or darkly. One of my students actually said to me last week, Mrs. Wood, all these stories are so dark. There seems to be a motif of darkness in all of these short stories that we're reading. I teach AP literature at the high school, and they said that. And I said, well, literature is reflective of the human experience. It's not always rainbow and sunshines in the human experience. And so there's a lot of darkness in writing. So I use that word for an example to show how I'm adding the suffix ness to the word dark. Rule 2, when the suffix begins with a vowel, you want to drop the silent E in the root word. So the word care, if you're going to refer to someone that cares or is a caregiver, you want to say, hopefully, that the individual that is caring for a loved one is a good person, something along those lines. Rule 3, when the suffix begins with a consonant, you want to keep the silent E in the original word. So the word care, the E is silent. So for example, careful. Be careful in your writing. That is most certainly a suffix. Rule 4, if a word ends in a consonant plus the letter Y, you want to change the Y to I before any suffix not beginning with I. So for example, if I were to say, it is sunny outside. Okay, that's a perfectly good sentence. But you could also say something like, I want to live somewhere where it is sunnier and has a lower crime rates. It's a little bit more descriptive, and I've changed the form of the word. The last and final rule for suffixes is when the suffix begins with a vowel, you want to double the consonant only if the word has 1 syllable or is accented on the last syllable. And if the word ends in a single vowel followed by a single consonant. So I've given you 2 examples here. The first example would be tannin. That would be where the the final consonant is doubled, T-A-N-N. Or the last one, preferred, is another one. The word ends in a single vowel followed by a single consonant. So key takeaways from that is a prefix is a word part that's added to the beginning of a word that changes the word's meaning. A suffix is a word part that's added to the end of the word that changes the word's meaning. Learning the meaning of prefixes and suffixes will help expand your vocabulary, which in turn helps improves your writing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment there, and just kind of talk for a moment about that. I know that's a lot of information that I just gave you in a very short period of time. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. If you have any questions, I have office hours. Those are posted on my syllabus. You can always reach out to me by text. I gave you my cell phone number. You can email me, and I'll be happy to assist you in any way that I possibly can. If you need a one-on-one Zoom session, I'll also be happy to do so if you need that. Sharing the screen with you again, I just want to show you because I've gotten questions from students about where to find things. So if you go into content under Brightspace, and we are on week 4 of the class. So under week 4, I have week 4 assignments, and you just click on that, and that will list the assignments that you have to do. This is your letter of complaint final. If you don't use this, you can always go to the assignment tab and find the assignments and upload it there. Either way, once you click on it, you can upload it. It's not due until February the 27th, so you still have a little while. There's a PowerPoint here on commonly confused words. And then here is a handout of transitional words and phrases that you can also use. So those just some things. Your grammar practice will be under assignments. I have not uploaded it yet. The document is completed. What you're going to do with your grammar practice will be on the lesson that I just delivered with the PowerPoint. There'll be about 10 questions or so that I'll have you work with the grammar to practice some of the skills. And then your other assignment is going to be a discussion board. So I'm going to show you where the discussions, if you go under assignment and go into discussions, it will be there. So you'll have to scroll down because I don't know why it's showing up this way, but, and it's all the way down. It's under week 4, the writing process. And it's a reflection on the writing process and learning. So I'm just going to double check and switch modes here for just a second. And I'm going to view it as a student just to make sure that it's there. Go under assignments, go to discussions, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there it is. It's a reflection on the writing process and learning. So it is there. You just have to scroll all the way to the bottom to find it. Your quiz will be located under the assessments tab, and it will have everything you need on there over what we've done this week. And just complete the quiz because I have to demonstrate that you are gaining some knowledge. I'm not going to click on it because I haven't made the quiz go live yet. It will not go live until Monday, as well as your assignment also will not be viewable until Monday because that's when the new week starts. I'm going to go ahead and upload the video, but your assignments will not be viewable except for the discussion board and your upload for your final complaint letter until Monday. Everything else will be available on Monday at 12:01 a.m. If you have any questions, please, 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 please reach out to me. Make sure you identify yourself when you reach out to me via text because it's really difficult for me to keep track of all the students that I have and all the courses. And I will also say again, with your assignments, paragraphs, responses, they do need to be in MLA formatting. If you're still confused about MLA, I have a handout here for MLA resources. You can click on that. It's on the home page when you go to your course. Also, in week 1 in the video, I demonstrated how to do an MLA formatted document. With your Brightspace and with your tuition, you do have Microsoft Office included. And if you click on, when you log into Panther Central and you click on the little Rubik's Cube, for example, I'll go ahead and do that. My password won't show up. So Panther Central, I'll log in. My password's already saved, so I just click on the login. So when I say Rubik's Cube, to me, that's what I call it, but it's actually formally called the app launcher. If you click on Microsoft Word here, you already have pre-formatted documents. So you look here and you'll see, I mean, this is my word, so there's all kinds of stuff. But you see it's got MLA style paper. You'll have to delete everything on there, but if you click on it, it's already formatted for you in MLA. It will already do the double spacing for you. It will already have all the information that you need. So with MLA formatting, it is imperative, critical, important. See how I'm using some different words there, that you have this header. You need your name. You need my name. You can put Professor Wood. You don't have to put Rachel Wood. You don't have to put my degree either. The course number, which is ENC 0026, and the date. And then your first paragraph needs to be, you need to have a title. It could be assignment 1, assignment 2, whatever it is. And then it's already indented. You just need to delete and type, and make sure after you've typed your assignment, if you didn't delete everything. So say, for example, you want to, I just double clicked on everything, delete. Okay. I want to, this is my first assignment. Okay. It already indented for you. It also has some really good tips on it as well. For quotations of more than 4 lines, you want to indent the quote 1 inch from the left margin. Do not use quotation marks, but that's for further on. And really that's more of an ENC 1101 skill. So right now we're just working on making sure that we're putting things in MLA format. So this is just a way for you to make sure that you understand how to do this. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, like I said, and I will be around. I do teach full-time during the week, but I do have office hours, and I do have classes on campus on Tuesday and Wednesdays. So if you have any questions, again, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to assist you. Hope you guys have a great week, and good luck with your assignments. And again, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great week.